So I've had these communications with the non-physical side that started, I guess, several years ago, and I was just looking for some clarification on what has happened in the past 7 or 8 years.
Does it feel to you like something that you've been asking for?
Actually, no. It's interesting. I mean, some of it has sounded as though some of the beings were not in well-being, and some of the beings that have communicated are in well-being. Yeah.
Well, the reason that we asked that, we could feel your hesitance as you were talking about it. And in the same way that once you learn to read, you can read books that are pleasing and books that aren't. Once you are able to read vibration, then you can read vibration that is pleasing and vibration that isn't. But the most important thing to realize is that you can't receive anything that you're not in the vibrational vicinity of. The thing that confuses people often about being able to decipher energy and translate it into a thought is that they think that it is something that's being projected to them, and they're just sort of stumbling on it, when really what's happening, it is a rendezvous of something that you are a vibrational match to. Also, every thought that you've ever thought, or every thought that has ever been thought, still exists. In other words, the thoughts don't just dissipate, the thoughts remain vibrationally viable. And because law of attraction assembles the cooperative components, there are rivers or streams of thoughts that can actually feel like a projection that is coming from a strong place. In other words, there are lots of thoughts that revolve around vulnerability, and thoughts that revolve around disconnection, as well as the thoughts that are presented from non-physical. So we always like to make that distinction. At the same time, we don't want you to feel vulnerable, because you are not, because nothing comes that you're not asking for vibrationally. It's a wonderful thing when you recognize that you're able to interpret. But what sometimes happens, you see, we talked earlier about the process of creation being 3 steps. Step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is source answers. Step 3 is you have to be a vibrational match to the answer in order to participate with it. So in an environment like this, where you're asking and Abraham's answering, Esther's in a state of not asking. In other words, she's not vibrationally active. She sees her work as quieting her mind to allow her vibrational frequency to rise naturally to the resonance that is the frequency of Abraham, so that as we are projecting to Esther these blocks of thought, she can receive them without resistance. And in a setting like this, is very easy for her, because she prepares herself, she makes sure she's in a good place, she does her best to think about positive things, she meditates the day before, especially while she's sleeping, in the morning of. In other words, she tunes herself to the frequency of Abraham. And even what you see as she is standing waiting for us to come forward is her intention is to quiet her mind, to make sure that there is no resistance within her vibration that would hinder this interaction. So what you're getting here is pure Abraham. But when Esther is on her own wanting to have a chat with Abraham, it's not as straightforward as this, because in this setting, Esther quiets her mind and puts herself in the vibrational place of just being in sync with the answer. You're doing the asking, Abraham's doing the answering. But if Esther has a question, then she's asking and then wanting Abraham to answer and asking. And then it gets a little trickier, because to switch from the vibration of the question into the non-resistant vibration of the answer is not something that you can do instantaneously. When you have a problem or a strong question, the vibration of the question and the vibration of the answer are very different frequencies. So sometimes what happens as you're receiving is that you're not really tending to where you are vibrationally, and so you're not really receiving from that vibrational frequency that you're wanting to receive from, but still you're able to receive.
Okay. I mean, because it seemed like some of the beings were in a place, or it felt as though they were sometimes coming from a place of not well-being. Is it certain that I can be, when I expire here and go to the other side, where I can always be in a place where I want to be, in a place of well-being, and have complete control over that?
That is certain, because when you have your death experience, you will release any resistant vibration, and your vibration will rise into that frequency. But as long as you're still physically focused, you have the option of beating the drum of unwanted things. You bring something into the conversation that is really, really important, even apart from the subject of receiving communication, which is important, and we will talk with you about it until you feel satisfied. But what you've introduced to the conversation here that we really do want to chew on is that so often, almost always, people approach or make the effort to solve their problem from outside the vortex when they're really aware that they've got a problem. Jerry and Esther have laughed about in their own experience. Esther said to Jerry not too long ago, let's make a promise in our family that whoever is in the vortex is the one who will call the shots. Because often it's the one who's most out of the vortex who's making the decisions about things. In other words, when you think about Mother, she was the one that was overworked and underappreciated and making all the decisions from outside the vortex. And so this seminar, the thing that we want to leave you with above all other things is this one line: get into the vortex and then. Get into the vortex and then drive your car. Get into the vortex and then call your girlfriend. Get into the vortex and then have a conversation with non-physical. In other words, get into the vortex and then. And just understand that you just can't jump from frequency to frequency instantaneously.
Okay. I mean, I guess I have so many questions. I don't want to take up too much time. How can I change my interaction with these communications?
Here's what Esther does, and it's what we recommend. By acknowledging that you're wanting communication with that source energy, that broadest, purest part of that which you are. And so it's about self-talk. It's not about letting them know. It's not about ringing them up and saying, hey, you guys, don't want any of those frivolous ones. Don't want any of those thought forms that are hanging around graveyards making trouble. We're just playing with you. I want to tune in to source energy, and I want to make sure that I'm a vibrational match to it, and then just have the experience of it. One thing that you know for sure is that no one is controlling you. In other words, it's all about your invitation and your vibrational resonance with it. And so if you start receiving something and it doesn't feel right, then just say later. Just say later and just release it and get on with whatever you're doing. We promise you there is not a group of energies, angels or devils, that are lurking just waiting to pounce on an open vessel. It's not like that at all. You summon and allow through the vibration of your being, you see. Now, we want to make this clear to everyone. You are vibrational beings, first and foremost. Your source energy in physical bodies. And sometimes even the idea of this interaction between physical and non-physical sort of freaks people out. When you are source energy in physical bodies. In other words, it's funny to us that anyone would find this non-physical relationship off-putting at all, because you are all extensions of source energy. And the only thing that ever makes your life squirrely or unpleasant or uncomfortable is when you get crossways of that energy in some way. Sometimes the span of time between when you have fervently asked for something and when you've finally chilled out enough to allow it, so much time has gone by, you've forgotten you've asked for it. You see, and that's why you say, oh, no, it's just coming out of nowhere. Jerry and Esther laugh about that all the time because they'll ponder something that they really are interested about. And then the following day, it will present itself to them in so many ways because you are never forgotten. What you want is always in the mix, and Source and all of the cooperative components are working to deliver to you every detail that you are vibrationally ready to receive. Jerry picked up a book in the bookstore, The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran. Brought it home. He read it years ago. Brought it home yesterday and wept as he read it. He could not believe the depth of understanding that is in that book. He read the book. He thought he knew the book, but he didn't understand the book. Now when he reads it, he gets it on such deep levels. And so that's what happens to all of you, you see. You're asking. The question is, you're not really conscious of your moments of allowing.
Okay.
So we like to say, in all seriousness and fun, that when you're receiving, if it is life-giving, if it fills you full, if you feel love, if you feel your own power and you believe in the well-being of all that surrounds you, then you can know you are in vibrational, accurate alignment with the source within you. And if it is something that is dictating instruction to you, if it is minimizing you in any way or anyone else, then it's your mother you're getting. And we mean that in the nicest way.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
When you get it, that you are vibration, and therefore that you are emotion, and therefore that you are energy, and therefore that you are source, therefore that you are consciousness, and that you can feel the relationship of what could be your scattered consciousness or what could be your aligned consciousness. When you get it, that you can feel when it is your true self participating in the conversation, or when it is the fragmented version of you. When you can tell by the confidence that you feel, or the insecurity that you're feeling, or the love that you're feeling, or the hesitation that you're feeling, or the joy that you're feeling, or the concern that you're feeling. When you begin to describe to yourself your life experience through the emotional sense, now you are tapping in to your understanding that you are a vibrational being. And when you accept fully your vibrational nature, all limitations cease to be. Because in this vibrational world of which we are all a part, all that is required that's almost as good as a drum roll. All that's required is the acknowledgement of the idea and resonance with it for the complete achievement of it. There is nothing about your physical experience that is not vibrational. Therefore, there is not a moment in time that there is not a vibrational relationship that you could be aware of. If you will tune yourself to the way you feel and spend less time trying to explain how you feel to another, but instead trying to achieve how you feel for yourself. If you will spend less time trying to analyze what's taken place or describe it,